Well, hey there, and welcome to Wedding Planning Simplified. Happy Wednesday. You're halfway through the last week before Christmas, if that's what you celebrate or if you get time off. I'm sure you are counting down the minutes. I don't know about you, but I felt like there have been 3 Fridays this week, and it just, it's the week that keeps on giving. So I hope that you are relaxed and enjoying your last few days before the holidays. But if you are like me, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to get all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted, I feel your pain. I support you. I hope that you can make sure that everything gets done and you get a little bit of time to relax at the end of it all. So thank you for joining me here. I'm Amy from Unmistakably You. I'm a wedding planner and an educator here in London, Ontario. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're catching us from our holiday countdown, we're so excited to have you here. We are having so much fun with this month of giveaways, and we can't wait to announce all of our winners. That's going to be happening right here next week on the 28th, Wednesday the 28th at 8 p.m. We are going to go live and announce our winners, so you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure that you join us in Wedding Planning Simplified at 8 p.m. on December the 28th to hear who has won all of our prizes from our incredible vendor partners. We have DJ prizes and photography prizes and hair and makeup prizes and all of the things that we're very excited about. We have an officiant on board as well. So lots of wonderful things to win. And then, of course, our grand prizes, which are the studio free bookings. So you can use our studio for a wedding shower, a baby shower, getting ready with your wedding party on the morning of your wedding. Maybe you want to host a brunch or an engagement party. Those are all certainly things that we are happy to host at our studio. And then our top grand prize is our free day of wedding coordination, which really is an investment in your sanity. You don't want to miss out on as many chances as you can to win that. So if you are joining us here, please pop a comment into the box and say hi. Let me know that you're here. Shoot us some love. Send us some questions. We are here to help you along your wedding planning journey with anything that you might be encountering along the way. So don't hesitate to reach out at any point, either here on Facebook or through email, amy@unmistakably.you.com. If you have connected with us for the past couple of weeks, you know that we've been talking about distinctive decor. You know, I love a good alliteration. So we've got distinctive decor December, where we've been talking about some alternatives to your traditional wedding decor. Traditions are traditions for a reason, so don't get us wrong. We absolutely love some beautiful traditional stationery. If you've caught me in any previous discussions of weddings, you know that I love the floral component. I am absolutely a sucker for wedding flowers. So don't get me wrong when we're talking about non-floral alternatives. We talked about non-floral centerpiece alternatives last week, and we talked about some creative stationery ideas the week before that. So if you missed those, you can always catch the replay. They're in our media archives, so don't hesitate to pop over there. But if you caught any of those non-floral ones, you may think I have a hate on for flowers, and I absolutely don't. I love flowers. So don't get me wrong. Traditions are traditions for a reason. Flowers are often carried at weddings by wedding party attendants because they're just so freaking beautiful. But if that's not your bag, if you're looking for something a little bit different, if flowers aren't in your budget, I feel your pain. The price of flowers, along with the price of everything else, seem to have skyrocketed in the past year. So if you're looking for an alternative that either meets a different vision or meets a different budget, we're here tonight to talk about a couple of options. And because I've been running around trying to get my daughter's teacher gifts ready to go to school tomorrow, I don't have any photos to display live here, but check back in the comments. I'm going to post a few of my favorite non-traditional bouquet and boutonniere alternatives in the comments. So we've got some really pretty special photos of weddings that we've worked with over the years, and I'll post those into the comments so that you can check out some of those non-traditional options that I'm going to talk about. So, first and foremost, if you caught us talking about stationery a couple of weeks ago, you would have heard me say lean into your interests. And I always think that a wedding that incorporates the personalities and interests and hobbies of the couple getting married is far more personal and interesting than your generic. It could be beautiful, but if there's no personality in it, a wedding tends to be kind of just a little bit blah. So lean into those interests and find ways to incorporate those into your wedding party florals. So whether we're talking about bouquets or boutonnieres, there are lots of different ways to bring in those interests. And another thing I should probably point out before I launch into this too much is that we're seeing an awful lot of mixed wedding parties these days, which is fantastic. We're seeing guys on the girl side and girls on the guy side, and people who are non-binary, and all kinds of different sort of configurations, which is very cool. But what that also might mean is that you're looking for alternatives for maybe a girl on the groomsman's side because she doesn't want just a boutonniere, but she doesn't want to carry a bouquet. So maybe there are some options that we'll talk about today that are going to be helpful in those kinds of situations as well. So, like I was saying, lean into your interests. Whether we're talking about a boutonniere that pins onto a lapel or a bouquet that is carried, you can incorporate little pieces of sports that you enjoy as a couple or hobbies that one or both of you enjoy. You can, for instance, incorporate a golf tee into a boutonniere. You could wire them into a bouquet. You can incorporate Lego men or little game pieces or action figures, either again into that boutonniere or into a bouquet. Perhaps you even want to maybe have your wedding party carry lightsabers. I'm doing a wedding coming up in March where the wedding party is carrying lightsabers, and every one of them, girl side and guy side, will have them. The girl side will have essentially corsages attached onto their lightsabers, but the corsage isn't the main attraction. It's the lightsaber that is really the focal point there. So finding ways to incorporate things that you enjoy as a couple can make it so much more personal and interesting. And it's that conversation piece among your guests as your wedding party starts to process down the aisle. And guests are going, oh my gosh, look at that. Isn't that cool? I know that they love, playing Final Fantasy and oh, there's a piece from the game in the girls' bouquets. Whatever it is, you can incorporate lots of different things into a traditional bouquet. So whether you're carrying real or artificial flowers, you can tuck a couple of things in there, or you certainly don't need to carry flowers at all. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, if you do want to carry flowers, but you want to scale back a little bit, there are also ways to do that and keep it classy and beautiful. You can have your wedding party carry single stems of flowers. You can have just small corsages made instead of large bouquets, and you can attach those to things like a clutch or a lantern. You could have your wedding party just wearing wrist corsages if there are female attendants, and scale it back from that large bouquet that is traditionally carried. I've also had wedding party carry loose bouquets of flowers that are not attached together and hand single stems to guests as they walk down the aisle, which is a really nice way to show some appreciation and love for your guests as your wedding party is processing. I've also had brides who have had their bouquets made in several pieces so that they could pass off a third of the bouquet to their mom and a third of the bouquet to their mother-in-law. So that is a floral option, but something a little different than your traditional bouquet. You could also think about perhaps incorporating paper flowers. I had a couple who did this a number of years ago where the bride painstakingly made thousands of paper flowers, and they were all of the bouquets, they were all of the boutonnieres, they were all of the decor, and she made them out of pages from books that were meaningful to her and her partner. So you have that extra little layer of meaning where the bride has handmade all of these. They loved to read, and they had found ways to incorporate their favorite books into their wedding day decor as well. Now, instead of boutonnieres, I've been talking about bouquets a fair bit. If we want to talk about boutonnieres, again, you can incorporate interests. So I did mention golf tees or Lego men. I've even seen boutonnieres made in shotgun shells if you're into hunting. But if you wanted to avoid a traditional boutonniere altogether, you can go with just a pocket square. Pocket squares can certainly stand alone, or they can be paired with a traditional boutonniere. You can put a single flower in a buttonhole. You can create boutonnieres out of ribbon. You can somehow attach a small symbol that goes with the theme of the wedding, like a skeleton key, for instance, or a vintage pocket watch. Maybe you have a very small framed photo that you can attach by ribbon and pin to your lapel. There are lots of alternative materials that you can use, such as wood, fabric, paper, rope, feathers. There are all kinds of great options for things that don't have to be a traditional floral boutonniere that can take that place on your lapel where a boutonniere would traditionally go. You could even make buttons or have buttons made to pin to the lapel, depending on how fun and funky you want to go. You could keep it subtle or you could go big with it. Now, attendants literally can carry just about anything. So traditionally, it would be the bride's side where the bridesmaids are carrying the larger floral display. So often, when we do alternate things, alternate stuff, I see the larger items being carried by bridesmaids, where traditionally groomsmen have that small boutonniere or perhaps nothing. So oftentimes it's the bridesmaids who have something to occupy their hands, but not necessary to be just the bridesmaids. You could certainly have groomsmen carry something as well. Things that I have seen people carry or experienced at weddings that I've done. We had a wedding last May where the bridesmaids carried stuffed cats, and they did have floral collars on them with paper flowers. They were stunning because the bride was a self-professed cat lady. So she wanted to incorporate that, and cats actually appeared in numerous places in her wedding, which is something I'm always a fan of, is repeating elements for cohesion. You could even, for that matter, have people carry live animals. I did a wedding a couple of years ago where the couple was encouraging guests to adopt puppies through an organization, and I can't off the top of my head remember what the organization was, but they actually brought puppies to the wedding. The girls didn't carry them down the aisle, but you could, depending on how out there you wanted to get. And if we're talking about carrying live things down the aisle, for that matter, depending on the makeup of your family and your wedding party, you could have adult attendants carry child attendants down the aisle. I actually did that at my sister's wedding. I ended up unintentionally, but I juggled my bouquet and my niece, and then my nephew was walking along beside. So oftentimes, if you want to incorporate young children into the wedding, but they're too young to walk on their own, and it's maybe too cumbersome to pull them in a wagon, give them to an adult attendant and have that adult attendant intentionally carry a babe in arms or a young toddler down the aisle. You could have attendants carry anything decorative that is holdable. I clearly can't string two words together. That is holdable, like of a size that's appropriate to be carried. You can tell I'm running on a little bit of sleep here. Things like a lantern or a hoop or a dream catcher or a fan or a parasol. Literally, attendants can carry just about anything, and you can either attach a small amount of flowers to it or not. You could even have attendants carry food down the aisle. I have never done this at a wedding, but I have seen donut bouquets and I have seen cotton candy being carried down the aisle in lieu of a bouquet. So you are only limited by your imagination. There are also lots of alternatives that are not flowers to create more of a bouquet-like structure. Things like feathers or dried flowers. I had a bride a number of years ago who went out and picked teasel and grasses and wheat and all kinds of things and dried them herself and then made the most beautiful bouquets. It was an absolutely stunning wedding. So there are all kinds of alternatives, and I have just literally scratched the surface here. But think about incorporating the things that are important and personal to you and use that as a jumping off point. There are no wedding police. You don't have to have floral bouquets. If it's not something that you like, if it's not something that you can afford, there are certainly lots and lots of options out there. I do suggest that perhaps you think about wedding party carrying something, just from the perspective that otherwise it's difficult for them to know what to do with their hands. It's a little bit awkward. But again, you could have them go down the aisle with absolutely nothing in their hands and it would be completely fine and nobody would judge you for that. So don't worry about what other people think. Do what you want to do. Have a unique and personal wedding, and you'll remember for years to come all of those things that you incorporated that made it so much you and your partner. Thank you, as always, for joining me here tonight. I really do hope to see a lot of you back next Wednesday night. We're so excited to wrap up our holiday countdown. I can hardly even believe that it's the 21st already. I don't know how we've been doing 21 days of holiday countdown already, but we are nearing the end. So don't forget, every day is still valid for another entry into our draw for all of our wonderful prizes and our grand prize of our day of coordination. So join us here next Wednesday, the 28th at 8 p.m., and we'll announce those winners. Have an incredible holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. All of the things, whatever it is that you celebrate, enjoy, hang with your people, take care of you, enjoy the love, and I'll catch you next week. Happy planning. Bye-bye.